Hello, welcome to another episode of Seeds of Flourishing. So, in this episode, I want to talk a bit about this book, The Society of Mind by Marvin Minsky. I'm going to flip through the book, talk a little bit about how I picked the book up, because there's an interesting, again, I use this term I get a lot, causal crossroads, about how I started to read books like this, and also a little bit about how I try and place this stuff on a timeline when I don't specifically know when I bought it. I know when the book came out, but I know the rough window of opportunity to some degree. So what is this book about? I mean, if you know anything about Marvin Minsky, along with the title of the book, you probably know that it's going to be something to do with artificial intelligence, philosophy of mind, that sort of thing. So at the very top it has, on the back cover here, it's got, "This book tries to explain how the mind works. How can intelligence emerge from non-intelligence? To answer that, we'll show you can build a mind from many little parts, each mindless by itself." And underneath it has, "The Society of Mind is the authoritative account of how the mind works by Marvin Minsky, co-founder of the Artificial Intelligence Laboratory at MIT and the most influential expert in his field. Minsky argues that the mind is like a society which develops from the interactions of ever smaller and more basic processes. He presents this revolutionary and controversial theory in an accessible and intriguing format, with each chapter, a page in length, representing a single building block of the larger Society of Mind. The readers gradually unite during the reading, enabling a complete theory of mind to emerge before the reader's eyes." So, let's talk a bit about a couple of things. Why have I picked this book up again now? Well, I've been listening to a lot of podcasts and dabbling a lot in large language models, looking at where we are in terms of the current paradigms within AI. And one or two things that I was hearing and reading lead me to the conclusion that alongside these foundation models, there may well be certain AGI solutions or certain domain-specific solutions that utilize helper things. I'm just trying to think of the best term for it. Helper agents, which may not be dissimilar to some of the things discussed in this book or explained in this book. And so it's, I'm trying to think of a good word again. It's sort of brought me to a point where I should really revisit this book, because I've not read this book since I first bought it. Now, in terms of when I first bought it, I can sort of place this on a timeline. So the book originally was published in 1987, although this edition came out in 1988. I can actually remember the bookshop that I bought it at, because at that time I was managing to pick up quite a few obscure books they had on the bookshelf, and I didn't have to resort to necessarily buying books like this in London. There was a favourite bookshop I used to go to in London. Probably Foyles might be one of them, but the one I'm thinking of was, there was a trying to think what chain of bookshops it would be now, but there was a chain of bookstores, and normally when I used to go book shopping, I would go around the area around Denmark Street, close to there. But the particular store of the chain I'm thinking of was off on a side street off of a couple of streets up from Oxford Street, and it had this vast underground labyrinth, it seemed like at the time, where all their science books were. But I don't think I got it from there. I'm pretty sure it was actually a local bookstore. It always had a ton of interesting books in there. I don't know what made them stop them. Maybe they were catering for students. Who knows? Anyway, that's where I'm pretty sure I picked this up. Now, when I picked it up, well, I know it's got to be after 1988, and the way I'm going with this is that this is another book I picked up after this. This is the one on neural networks. Now, this came out in, I did find it. When was it? 1990. This possibly I did pick up in London. Yeah, pretty sure I did with this one. 1990. Now, based on the projects I remember I was working on at the time, this book would have been bought before 1991. Because 1991 to 93 I got sidetracked and ended up having to do like a lateral move to another position because a member of staff had been sacked, basically, and I took over for a period of time and wasn't able to work on a lot of my special projects revolving around bacterial identification. So yeah, I would say I bought Society of Mind sometime between when it was published in 1988 and sometime around 1992, which was the latest I would have picked this book up. Well, actually 1991, I think I said. Yeah, 1991. Somewhere in that window. Just to place it on another timeline, 1988, which is when this edition was published, was when the Morris worm got released on the internet. And also, although we had the internet, we didn't have the World Wide Web, but in 1988, there were the first sort of meetings, I believe, first discussions proper about how the World Wide Web might develop. So we had the internet, we didn't have the World Wide Web. Anyway, I'm just going to flick through this so you get a rough idea of what this contains. I have no idea how easy this book is to obtain nowadays, but I can imagine myself definitely flicking through this of an evening. I have not looked at this probably since, I don't know, late 90s, maybe the 2000s. It's in pretty good condition, actually. Yeah, my office where these were all kept in the UK was very dry. It was well heated, and so nothing's gone mouldy, and also this has been sitting on a shelf undisturbed in my house in Nova Scotia. So, and believe it or not, at certain times a year, apart from August, it's very dry in Nova Scotia. So much so, since I've been out here, I've started to develop problems with this, my hands getting really dry and peeling, which I've never had before. So yeah, it's very dry out here, apart from a period around about August where it gets very humid. But yeah, I digress anyway. So fortunately the humidity has kept my books very non-mouldy, and they all have that lovely book smell without the horrible smell you sometimes get from second-hand books that have been sitting in someone's somewhere where it's slightly damp. I think you know what I mean. But yeah, each one of these is a different aspect of society of mind, and you can see there's sort of major sections that it's divided into. It's a very interesting breakdown of mind, I think. But like I said, it gives you lots of ideas for intelligent agents on a really granular level as well. And I'm going to have some fun, I think, in the evening, plugging some of these ideas into Bing Chat and seeing where it takes me. There's lots of nice diagrams and flowcharts, things about the anatomy of memory. It looks like as well some of these are like different what you might think, so it's layers of complexity. I think maybe that's the right word I'm looking for. Very nice. Learning meaning. A theory of memory. Reinforcement and reward. The puzzle principle. So there we have it. It's another seed of flourishing, which has become a focus again, and I hope will add to some more flourishing. Thanks once again for watching. Bye for now, and I'll catch you in the next video.